العلم أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدمه. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
طيب الآن if a person in a thobe comes to you, big lihya, big beard and so on, and he says he wants to buy gold, are you going to have a doubt in him? طيب أحسنت جيد لا أحسنت جيد لا ها صحيح. But the thing is, when you're مثلا you go into a shop, how many times have you been asked why you're buying a certain item? طيب Ali might want to buy it for his wife.
Might be wearing it. Why is the sin upon you? You might
لا.
In the Pakistani culture, the bridegroom.
The what?
Bridegroom, he buys gold to his wife. Bride, yeah?
He buys gold for the missus, yeah?
To his new wife. So if that, so you're going to get plenty of men coming in, to buy gold for their wife.
صحيح. الأصل في الأشياء الإباحة. The أصل for things, buying, selling, wearing, eating, drinking, the أصل, the origin is everything is halal. Because if you look at all of the uses that a man can possibly have for gold, they far outweigh the use that he uses for it being haram, wearing it. He can be using it to store gold. The value of gold doesn't what? Drop. It can actually increase. And if it does drop, it drops by a minute amount. Or he can be using it for buying and selling. Or he can be using it as a gift for someone. طيب. So it's permissible for men to sell gold. طيب. So it's anything that a person can sell sheep. A person can sell camels. There's nothing prohibiting him from doing so. So على كل حال, everything that a person has the intention for selling, then there is zakah that is wajib upon it. طيب. The evidence that can be used the evidence that there's zakah on it we can use, and the scholars use is يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا من طيبات ما كسبتم. O you who believe, أنفقوا, pay zakah or give out for that which you have, or give out from that which you earn. من طيبات ما كسبتم. Those good things that you earn, then pay or أنفقوا, give out from that good kasb that you have earned. Also, خذ من أموالهم صدقة. The Messenger Allah Jalla wa Ala said, خذ من أموالهم صدقة. Take from their wealth صدقة. And what you're buying and selling, is it considered wealth or not? What you're buying and selling, is it not wealth? مثلا, if a person is selling 10 cars, is that not considered wealth? It is considered wealth. طيب. So he'd have to pay zakah on that as well. Bear in mind, there isn't a hadith or a verse in the Quran saying that you have to buy, that you have to pay zakah on urud al-tijara. There isn't a single hadith that is clear saying that you have to pay zakah on merchandise that you buy and sell. Likewise, there's no evidence from the Quran. So a minute amount of scholars say that there's no zakat because there's no evidence. Lakin, they've been refuted by the scholars that say it is wajib, based on these general evidences. And just because there isn't a clear-cut hadith pointing towards a certain ibadah, it doesn't mean that we don't do it. There could be ijma'. And with urud al-tijari, you can say there's shibh al-ijma', almost an ijma', to the extent that the vast amount of scholars say that it is wajib to pay zakah on عروض التجارة. طيب. One second, let me just finish this مسألة. طيب. The Shaykh says رحمة الله عليه فإنه يقوم إذا حال الحول بالأحظ للمساكين من ذهب أو فضة ويجب فيه ربع العشر. The Shaykh mentions two issues. He says that its value is to be estimated. The value of whatever it is that you're selling has to be estimated. And the nisab that you would use for it is the nisab of the dhahab and fidda. مثلا الآن I'm selling 10 cars. Now these 10 cars, if I look in the Quran and the Sunnah, will I find the hadith from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying the nisab for cars is مثلا 5 cars? If you have anything above 5 cars, then pay zakat. Anything less than 5 cars, then لا. ما في صح؟ طيب. What should we use as the nisab? Remember when we were talking about currencies, there's no evidence from the Quran and the Sunnah directing us towards which nisab or the nisab for currencies, for cash. Like what did we go back to? Silver or gold. Silver or gold, the lower of the two. The Shaykh is saying exactly the same thing now. For gold and silver, for merchant, urud al-tijara, what is the nisab? So we've established that there's zakah that is wajib on it. What is the zakah? What is the nisab, The lowest of gold and silver. And we already know how to work out the lowest amount. So the nisab for urud al-tijara, for merchandise that you're selling, is what? The nisab for the lower of the gold and silver. طيب. What is the amount that we have to pay? 2.5%. Why? Excellent. That is the nisab for gold and silver. Because that is the nisab for gold and silver, the nisab that we use for urud al-tijara, the zakat that we pay is 2.5%. طيب. So how should a person do it? مثلا الآن, how should the person find out how much zakat they should pay? Estimate what? The worth, excellent. The worth of the items that they have. So they can do auditing on an annual basis, مثلا, and they calculate exactly how much they have, or the merchandise that they have, the items that they're selling, they work out how much it is in the suq, in the market. Not the price that they bought it for. La, the price that it is in the market. The price that it's worth on that day. Not the price that you're going to sell it for. The price that it is worth on that day. And then you calculate the amount. So مثلا if it reaches the nisab, then you pay zakat on that. مثلا you've got 3 cars that you're selling. 3 cars that you're selling. Each one is worth 30,000. Each one is worth 30,000 in the market. You may have bought it for less or more. Like it's worth 30,000. That's the amount that you write down. 30,000 times how many cars? 3 cars. How much is that? 90. 2.5% of 90,000 is how much you pay. طيب. If a person, we'll leave that مسألة for now. على كل حال, عروض التجارة, there's zakah that is wajib on it, and we have to use the nisab for gold and silver. طيب. Is that understood? We pay zakah on what wealth? On crops. Gold, silver, عروض التجارة, anything you intend to buy and sell. Merchandise, buy and sell. Livestock. 5 or 4? 4. طيب. There's the rikaz we also talked about last week. And the rikaz is what? what you find, treasure that you find from the previous nations before the time of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is, if there's names of their kins or their salatin, whatever, if they have names on them that direct us towards the fact that it is from the waqt of Jahiliyyah before the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then that is called a rikaz, and we pay 1/5. 1/5. طيب. The Shaykh rahmatullahi alayhi is now going on to another mas'ala. There's only 2 masail left. The first is dain, debt. ومن كان له دين ومال لا يرجى أو لا يرجو وجوده كالذي على مماطل أو معسر لا وفاء له فلا زكاة فيه وإلا ففيه زكاة. Dain, debt. Sometimes you loan people money, sah? And the amount that you loan is over the nisab at times. Now, this money that you loan out to people, do you have to pay zakah for it or not? Do you have to pay zakah for it or not? No? You said no. Yeah. Okay. I heard an answer here. Huh? No? Yes? Go. It's not in your possession. That when you give out debt, when you give out a loan, more often than not, what? You get it back. You don't know when you're going to get it back, sir? For this mas'ala, there's no specific hadith. There's no specific hadith talking about whether or not we have to pay zakah on dain or diyun, on loans that we give out. Lakin the scholars have made ijtihad, and the opinion that the Shaykh rahmatullahi alayhi mentions to us, he mentions that he divides loans into 2. He divides loans, separates loans into 2. The first is a loan that you've given to someone who is not able to pay it back. So you've given it to someone, like he's not able to pay it back immediately. So if you ask him, he won't be able to pay it back. He won't be able to pay it back at that particular moment. Or you've loaned it out to someone, but that person is a mumatil, meaning he always delays the giving of loan, the paying back. So he's got it, or he's able to pay it, like he always says, come to me tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, I'll definitely have it. And then when next year comes, he says, no, give me another year, give me another 6-7 months. Or someone who denies the fact that you've even given him money. Says, what money? I lent you 6,000. I don't remember. And some people genuinely can't remember. Sometimes they genuinely can't remember because they haven't written it down. But at times they can remember, like they just don't want to give it back. So they say, no, I can't remember. What dain? What loan? So that's the first type. A loan that you feel you're not going to get back, or you don't know when you're going to get back, if you're even going to get it back. For that type of dain, for that type of loan, there's no zakah on it. Because you don't have complete ownership. You don't have complete ownership. And what from the shurood of zakah being wajib was what? Al-mulk, having ownership of your wealth. Al-hur is being a free person, not being a slave. The condition was that you have to own the wealth. Like in this wealth, sahih, technically it is yours, you gave it to him. However, he denies it's in his possession. He denies that you actually gave him anything. Or he wants to pay you back, like he doesn't have the means to pay you back. For that money, for that loan or dain, you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay zakat on it. If the person gives it back to you a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years later, some scholars say that you should pay 1 year's zakah worth, just 1 year, just as a sunnah. Like, if you don't want to pay the zakah, say the nisab starts from now, then you'll start nisab for that money that the person gives back to you starts from that moment, from the moment that they give it back to you. That's when the nisab starts, and then you count a year until the next year. When you reach the next year, you pay the zakah. Is that understood? The second type of dain is a loan that you've given out to someone who is able to pay it back. They're a rich person, they're able to pay it back. They're able to pay it back. Mathalan, you was on Hajj. You was on Hajj, or you're on Hajj, and then someone who's rich, who's got businesses, and so he's wealthy, he's able to pay back the money. Like, and he says, listen, I've lost my card, lend me £2,000. And you're in Makkah, he's lost his bank card, says, lend me £2,000. So now he's got £2,000 of yours, you've given him £2,000. When you come back, he doesn't give it to you straight away. And you don't ask him because you're shy. Because you could be shy to ask him. Or he doesn't pay back because he's forgotten. Like, you know deep down that if you were to ask him, immediately he'll give it back to you. He'll immediately give it back to you. That sort of mal, that sort of dain, you have to pay zakat on. That sort of dain, you have to pay zakat on. Why? Because it is as if you own it. It is as if you have complete ownership over it. Because the minute you ask him, he's able to pay you back. It's equivalent to, or it's similar to, a bank, or you lending someone or asking someone to hold money for you. A wadi'a, mathalan. It's similar to asking someone to hold some money for you, or to put it in his safe. Or to put it in his safe. Is that understood? So dain, or loans, are of how many types? 2. First, a person that can't pay, or a person that denies it, or a person that intentionally delays it. For that zakah, for that wealth, do you have to pay zakah for it? La. Right. The second type is what? Someone that can pay you back immediately. As soon as you ask them, they give it back to you. Right. For that, what would you do? You have to pay zakah. Obviously on the condition that it reaches the nisab. Mathalan, if you gave it to him in Hajj. Hajj was how long ago? Maybe about 2 months ago, right? How long ago was Hajj? About 3-4 months ago. A bit more? It was about August time, right? Sah? No. Just say 5 months ago. Of course it was 5 months ago. We're in Haram last month. Sahih. It's 5 months ago. It went in Jumad al-Ula. It was 5 months ago. So you gave it to him in Hajj. So you've got a dain on him. You've given him a loan. Do you have to pay the zakah now? Why? You gave it to him in Hajj.
When did you get it?
Hassan. When did you have the money? That's what you have to look at. Because we said it's as if you've got it. It's as if you've given him money to look after for you. طيب. That masala is that. The last masala, or second before the last, is does dain, do debts prevent zakah? Do debts prevent zakah? Mathalan, a person has £20,000 dain against him. The wealth that he has is is how much? No, it's 20. It's 20,000. It's 20,000. The debt is how much? 20,000. 20,000. And the amount that he has is what? 20,000. Or mathalan, the nisab for wealth is mathalan 1,000. The nisab is 1,000, for example. So that's the nisab. He owes someone £900. But he has, let's say, mathalan, 1,100. So he's got 1,100. He has reached the nisab, right? طيب. Here he had 20,000. Has that reached the nisab? طيب. But there's a debt on him, sah? Of what? Of how much? 10,000. He's got 1,100. The nisab was already 100. Like he's got a debt of how much against him? 900. Does he have to pay zakat or not? Why?
Because that money, the 900, is not his. So basically, £200 is his, and the 900 is not.
Like he's got 1,100.
No, Islamically, I don't think it's his wealth.
Islamically, you don't think it's his. What's the one? La, £200, no. £200, what's 1,000 take away 9? £200, sah? Technically, it's not his wealth, huh?
Does it matter when the debt is due? If they have an agreement, say the debt is not due for a year.
Let's say there's no agreement, so he has to pay as soon as possible.
I don't think you'll have to pay zakat when it reaches £1,900 or £2,000. That's his wealth.
There's two things you have to know here. There's zakah that is wajib upon him. That is a haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If a year goes past and he's got the same amount, مثلا he's had 1,100 for a year, we put that to one side. Zakah is wajib on that wealth. Sah? And there's debt on him. Sah? There's debt on him. Many scholars say he has to pay the zakah on this, and he also has to pay that debt back. He always has to pay the debt back, obviously, because it's the haqq of someone else. It's someone else's right. Like he also has to pay the zakah back. He always has to pay the zakah back. Or has to pay the zakah out of the 1,100 and also out of the 1,000. Based on the adillah, based upon the fact that when the Messenger ﷺ used to send his workers out to collect zakah, they never used to ask the person that they never used to ask the person that they're taking the wealth from to what? Whether or not they have dain against them. They never used to ask. They used to just look at the amount of wealth they have and take the right amount of zakah. Like, and they never used to ask them and how much they would have to pay. Also, there's no evidence saying that we have to give precedence to the dain over the wealth. There's a general adillah. طيب. However, there's also another opinion which says that in this sort of situation, there's no zakah wajib on this individual. Why? Based on the general evidence. The Messenger ﷺ, when he sent Mu'ad over to Yemen, what did he say to him? فَأَخْبِرْهُمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى فَرَضَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَدَقَةً صح? Tell them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made sadaqah wajib upon them. تُؤْخَذُ مِنْ أَغْنِيَائِهِمْ فَتُرَدُّ إِلَى فُقَرَائِهِمْ or فَتُرَدُّ عَلَى فُقَرَائِهِمْ. It is taken from their rich ones that have wealth, that have money, and given to their what? To their poor ones. So they say, مثلا, this person now, who has 1,100, like he's got a debt of 900 against him, technically he isn't ghani. He isn't wealthy. So it's not wajib upon him. And the hadith doesn't apply to him, because the hadith applies to who? The aghniya. تُؤْخَذُ مِنْ أَغْنِيَائِهِمْ. Likewise, the one that's 2020, 20,000 against him, like he's got 20,000 cash, he can't be considered to be what? Someone that has got wealth. طيب. One second. Also, a person who has a debt against him, from the evidences that the scholars use, the person who has a debt against him, he can actually, as we shall see, for those who are entitled to zakah, he can actually be given zakah. This sort of individual can be given zakah. So they say, how can he be from those that are entitled to zakah, whilst at the same time being told to pay zakah? Whilst at the same time being told to pay zakah. That can be kind of refuted to say that obviously he's already got a zakat. He's already got a certain amount of wealth. There's also a narration from Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu in which he was asked, a man who takes out a loan, what should he do? Yani how should he pay it out? And then Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, and in another narration, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he said, يَبْدَأُ بِمَا اسْتَقْرَضَ فَيَقْضِيَهُ وَيُزَكِّي مَا بَقِيَ. Yani yabda, he starts off with, مثلا he's got wealth, he starts off with that which he has taken, the wealth that he has taken from someone else, the loan that he has taken out, he starts with it, يبدأ به. And then وَيُزَكِّي مَا بَقِيَ, and then he pays the zakah on what is left from that. So مثلا, and also Abdullah ibn Abbas says, يَقْضِي مَا أَنْفَقَ عَلَى ثَمَرَةِ ثُمَّ يُزَكِّي مَا بَقِيَ. Same narration as, or same sort of wording as Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, where they said, you pay the amount of dain that you've got against you, or the loan, and then whatever's left over, you pay zakah on. So مثلا, this individual, when you take away this from that, when you take 1,100, take away 900, left with how much? 200. If 200 reaches the nisab, then you pay zakah on the 200. If the 200 reaches the nisab, then you pay zakah on the 200. Is that understood? طيب. So على كل حال, that khilaf is also, or that khilaf also exists. There's also another narration of Uthman radiallahu anhu. Although the evidence isn't clear, like in it, or there's a difference of opinion in the evidence like it's quite clear in its text, which Uthman radiallahu anhu said, هذا شهر زكاتكم. This is the month that you pay your zakah in. So Uthman, when he was a Khalifa, he was given a khutbah, and he said, this is the month that you pay zakah in. فَمَنْ كَانَ عَلَيْهِ دَيْنٍ. So anyone who's got dain against them, فَلْيُؤَدِّي دَيْنَهُ. Let him pay his dain, or let him pay off the loan that he has taken. In another narration, ثُمَّ لِيُؤَدِّي زَكَاةَ مَا فَضَلْ. And then he should pay the zakah for that which is left over. نعم, in another narration, فَلْيُؤَدِّي دَيْنَهُ حَتَّى تَحْصُلَ أَمْوَالَكُمْ فَتُؤَدُّونَ مِنْهُ الزَّكَاةِ. So you pay the zakah, after you pay the loan of whatever it is that you've taken, and then once you've paid that off, then you pay the zakah for your wealth. So that is also clear in its text and its meaning, even though some of the scholars say it isn't. لكن على كل حال, that's also a masala that the scholars talk about in Kitab al-Zakah when they're talking about the dain. Wallahu a'lam.